What happened to Randy Meisner?
Born in Scottsbluff, Nebraska in 1946, Meisner co-founded a band called the Dynamics, which was later renamed to the Driving Dynamics in 1961. He served as the lead singer and bass player of the band. By late 1962, they had made their first record, produced and released themselves, which included a rendition of Sam Cooke's You Send Me, sung by Meisner. In 1966, following 3 years in which the Dynamics saw their audiences and fandom grow steadily from Nebraska to Oklahoma and Texas, Meisner left the group to join another Midwestern band called the Soul Survivors, who later moved to Los Angeles and changed their name to The Poor. Their other members included Alan Kemp and Patrick Shanahan. They were a serious enough outfit to attract the attention of the Warner Brothers subsidiary Loma Records and also of the Decca label, both of which released several folk rock influenced sides by The Poor without success. By 1968, Meisner had begun moving away from folk-influenced rock and into a more country-oriented vein, following a transition that was sweeping across California. He joined a band that was initially called Pogo, later changed to Poco, organized by Richie Furay and Jim Messina out of the collapse of their earlier band, Buffalo Springfield. Poco looked to be one of the hottest new bands heard in LA in years, doing killer live performances and were part of the corporate game of contractual chess orchestrated by David Geffen to get Crosby, Stills, and Nash onto Atlantic. They were that hot, and Meisner looked to be on the ground floor of a major enterprise, with the chance of being the next Chris Hillman. But friction developed between him and Messina and Furay, and he ended up quitting before the original group was properly captured on tape. Poco made its debut as a quartet, with Meisner succeeded by Timothy B. Schmidt. Meisner moved to Rick Nelson's Stone Canyon Band, where his former Poor bandmates Kemp and Shanahan had ended up, and he participated in the rebirth of the 50s rock and roll legend's career in country rock. He also played lots of sessions with other artists, and during this period began playing with Linda Ronstadt's backing band in the studio and on stage. This proved to be Meisner's second chance, as that band, which included Don Henley, Glenn Frey, and Bernie Leadon, became the Eagles and left Ronstadt's orbit in 1972. They went on to become twice over one of the most successful bands of the 1970s, racking up major sales across their first 3 years, with Don Felder later adding another guitar, and with Leadon's departure and his replacement by Joe Walsh, ascending to even greater heights, including a greatest hits album that remains one of the biggest selling records of all time. Meisner's high harmony singing and bass, along with some guitar, were at the core of their sound, and his songwriting figured on all of their albums, starting with the haunting impassioned Take the Devil and the soaring high-energy rocker Trying. Although Frey, Henley, and Leadon had the biggest claim on their hits for the first 3 years, Meisner's songs were widely heard as the sales of the band's LPs rose into the hundreds of thousands and then the millions, and he got his claim on a hit with Take It to the Limit in 1975. Over the next 2 years, he became increasingly disenchanted with the group, however, and in 1977, following another tour, Meisner took his leave of the Eagles. And there have been several reasons why people thought he left. It was claimed by other bandmates that he didn't want to perform his big hit, Take It to the Limit, on Encore. And then Randy himself said that he just didn't like how the drugs were just taking over, and he just became burnt out from all the touring they were doing. But coincidentally, he was replaced by the man who replaced him in Poco, Timothy B. Schmidt, and Timothy was on their next album, The Long Run. He returned to Nebraska for a rest and then resumed his music career with a very good self-titled solo album, Bad Man. Off of that LP was also used on the soundtrack of the movie FM from 1978, which also included an appearance by his one-time employer, Linda Ronstadt. Meisner enjoyed hit singles with Hearts on Fire and Deep Inside My Heart. In 1989, he also let the other shoe drop on his career by reuniting with Poco and recording the album Legacy, which finally revealed the range and beauty of that original lineup in all of its glory. Although the reunion also opened up numerous older tensions that prevented it from having any semblance of permanency. Call It Love was a top 20 single in the US, and Meisner sang lead on the Richard Marx composed Nothing to Hide, which also sold well for the band. He didn't participate in the Eagles' Hell Freezes Over tour, but did reunite with his former bandmates alongside Bernie Leadon for a performance on the occasion of the group's 1999 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Meisner was always best known for his work with the Eagles, but his solo material showed a solid commercial edge of its own. And in 2002 and 2003, his two self-titled albums from 1978 on Asylum and 1982 on Epic, respectively, were reissued on CD by Wounded Bird Records. Both albums were later packaged together and re-released by the Arcadia label in 2007. In addition to his music with the Eagles, he has also played on records by Joe Walsh, Dan Fogelberg, Richie Furay, Bob Welch, James Taylor, among numerous others. Meisner reunited with the Driving Dynamics for a performance in 2000, when the band and Meisner as a solo performer were inducted into the Nebraska Music Hall of Fame. In the 2000s, he performed as a part of the World Classic Rockers touring group. And they're in the similar vein to Ringo Starr and the All-Star Band. They're more of a generic 70s-oriented outfit. Following minor heart attacks in 2004, he was forced to cut back on touring. As his health continued to deteriorate, he eventually stopped performing. His last known public performance was in 2008 in Naples, Florida. In March 2013, Meisner suffered yet another health scare after losing consciousness in his California home. A piece of food obstructed his breathing while he was eating, and he was rushed to the hospital. While doctors were optimistic about his recovery, Meisner spent some time in a coma, and in his weakened state was unable to participate in the History of the Eagles tour alongside a fellow ex-bandmate Bernie Leadon, who participated in the tour. And in 1999, Meisner tried to get back with the Eagles, but the Eagles didn't want anything to do with him at the time. But then they offered him to come back on this tour, and due to this incident, he wasn't able to come back. He later revealed that his former Eagles bandmates had paid the medical bills from the hospitalization. In April 2015, there were rumors that Randy Meisner's wife was taking advantage of his alcohol and drug addictions by tempting him to keep him drunk with bottles of vodka, which Meisner and his wife denied. A friend, James Newton, sought a court-supervised conservatorship for Meisner's personal and financial affairs. 3 months later, the LA County Superior Court appointed a temporary conservator to manage Meisner's drug prescriptions and medical care, as he had been diagnosed as bipolar and had made threats to harm himself and others. However, the conservator did not have authority over his finances, as requested by Troy Martin and James Newton. On March 16, 2016, police responded to a 911 call at Randy Meisner's house in Studio City, California, where a woman reported a possibly intoxicated male. Later, Lana Meisner accidentally shot and killed herself with a rifle while moving it, and authorities confirmed that Meisner had no involvement in the incident. After the shooting, Meisner was put on psychiatric hold due to his previous suicide threats and mental health issues. On April 1st, 2016, CBS News published an in-depth report on Meisner's mental health and care-related problems. Unfortunately, on July 25th, 2023, Meisner died due to complications associated with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease at the age of 77. And that's what happened to Randy Meisner. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Give me some facts about Randy Meisner that I might have failed to mention, and let me know who I should do next on this channel. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next video.